Starting the recording. Oh, it's working. So thanks everyone who joined. It's our May community call. We're gonna discuss Grafana OnCall development, open source mostly. We're gonna share new features and some features we are working on now, which are not yet released. And today in our agenda, we have review of upcoming release of mobile app, announce of refactor of how phone notifications work. In Akinci, we'll speak about it. Demo of new upcoming webhooks. They are not yet finished, but we're going to show how they will work and how they will look and what they actually can do. Sneak peek about our refactoring of schedules, especially about iCal export, and some information about upcoming Prometheus exporter. So a lot of demos of features which will be rolled out later, but we're gonna show them now. So you can join beta testing, you can check pull requests and actually join the development. And the first one, mobile app, Salvatore, your turn, please go ahead.
Yes, hello. Just a second, I'm trying to share my screen. Oh no. I need to close and open Zoom, sorry.
No worries, that happens.
I've never shared anything on Zoom, so just a second.
Take your time, no worries. Also, hello. Probably I need to make you a host. I don't know. Oh yeah, we see your screen.
You can see the screen, right? Yes, okay.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, so this is the mobile app. This is version 1.0 because we are releasing the new stable version today. Till now we had the preview label, but now we are going GA in the next couple of weeks. So this app, we've been working on it for a couple of, for like 6 months now. Yeah, it's been out for a while, but this is like the first official stable release. So to use the app, you install it from the app stores, so Android Play Store or iOS App Store. And then you cannot really sign up because they're just go on the website and register because you need an on-call instance. But you can sign in and it's pretty easy because you can just, it's all based on QR code. So basically you get, there is a screen on the on-call, on your on-call instance that says mobile app connection, and there is a QR code. You can just scan it and it should connect. Yes. Yeah, from the app you can configure your notification policies. So we tell people to use mobile push important for important notifications and mobile push for default notification. But of course, you can also add more steps or I don't know, like waits. You can do everything basically that you can do on the front end. So for example, adding a wait period and then a Slack mention, like you can do all this stuff. And then you can also change your push notification settings. On Android, we use Android notification channels. So by default, we bring the user directly to the system settings. These are the system settings of Android if you're familiar with it. And here you can change the sound, you can change the vibration, you can also override on disturb. Because for example, for important notification, you might want to override do not disturb, so that even at night you can get woken up. And also you can enable or disable on-call shifts notifications. With this, we send a push notification 15 minutes before your on-call shift. In the future, this will be configurable, so you can say, send me a push notification, I don't know, 12 hours before, or like 6 hours before, all this stuff. And we also added a sound library because we did actually some research on like the best sounds that one should use to be woken up at night, for example, or in general to get more attention. And yeah, you can read some description here, and you can listen to this. And on Android, you always should go to the system settings to change the sounds, but on iOS, it's all integrated directly in the app. And also there are some cool features like override system volume. So if your phone is silent, it's not silent, but like the volume is very low, you can tell the app to just bring it up before showing a push notification in case like it's something really important. Yeah, so when you open the app, the first thing you see is the list of your alert groups that are the alert groups that involve you in their escalation chains. So you can open the alert groups, you can read the details, and you can also resolve them. Once they're resolved, you can unresolve, like, yeah. You can also share the link to an alert group, or also open it in for example, in Slack if it's connected, or also Telegram. And yeah, so this tab is only for yours, like for mine escalation group, for mine alert groups, but also you can see all the other groups, and you can also filter by status. At the moment, it's only status, but in the future will be even more. And yeah, last main feature is the on-call status. As you can see, at the moment I'm on call, so we show this green label. If you click on it, you can see your current shifts, but also your next shift. And this label turns blue if you're not on call, but you will be on call in the next 24 hours. Otherwise, there is just a gray label that says that you're not on call. And yeah, from the settings, you can, of course, go back to the notification policies and the push notification settings. And yeah, I think these are like the main features of the app. I don't know if there are any questions.
Thank you for the demo. So yeah, if somebody have a question, shoot them to the chat. A few notes. So
Yes.
these current on-call status, it's the only one place where you all around on-call where you can comfortably get when you will be on call next. So it's a kind of first drop of on-call engineer focused
yeah, that's true.
view. Yeah, thank you for building this. I know it was desired for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I also started to refer to it.
Yeah, pretty useful because everyone has their phone all the time. So.
Yeah, and you did like a huge job in overriding don't disturb mode. So it's really precise.
Yes, yeah, it works very nicely with the Android channels. And on iOS, it's even better, in my opinion, with the critical notifications, because it was way easier for us to develop and like more reliable, I would say, overall. So.
And the first question from Dmitry, is it possible to copy paste text from alert in OnCall mobile app?
Nice feature request. Yeah, because it's not, I don't think it's possible to copy this text here. No, it's not. But it should be pretty easy. So I expect it in a few releases, I would say.
Thanks, Dmitry, for feature request. We slightly changed the question to it. Cool, thank you, Salvatore. Thanks, Dieter, who also worked on this app. And the backend team who adjusted the API and push notifications. So looking forward for GA. We're planning to shoot a blog post. Check Grafana blog for news about mobile app.
I will also paste the links maybe to the app in the chat.
Yeah. So if somebody publish a link to the app in the chat, would be cool. And next in our agenda, phone notifier refactoring. It's a technical topic for those who are thinking about adding new ways for on-call to make phone calls or SMS. So this one will be a little bit technical, and next one will be less technical. So Innocenty, your stage is yours. Thanks, Salvatore.
Great, thank you, Matvey. Hi, everyone. I want to tell you about phone provider refactoring and little history first. In OnCall, we supported only Twilio for a while, for the whole history of OnCall. And the most upvoted PR in our public repo is PR with asterisk. But it was impossible to merge it because Twilio was tied closely to our core code. So I tried to make it more easy to contribute. And let me give a little walkthrough to the new code structure and how you can implement your own phone provider via like 100 lines of code. Let me share my screen, please. Okay. Cool. So is my screen visible?
Yeah.
Great. So what I want to share you is that actually all phone notification stuff lives in phone notifications app. And there is a big class phone backend, which is responsible for whole business logic related to phone calls in OnCall. It handles call limits, cloud calls, provider calls, stuff like that. And it's pretty big. It's 400 lines of code. And the good news is that you do not need to work with that. You need just to implement your own phone provider class. So phone provider is an interface for all, let's call it phone call service providers. And it has, like it's pretty well documented because it's intended that open source community will extend it. And it has 6 or 8 methods and which you need to implement to make it work. So little very short walkthrough. It has the make notification call method, which actually used to make a notification call about an alert group. Same for SMS. Make call method, which is used to handle all other calls like test calls and stuff like that. Same for SMS. And 2 methods for start verification via SMS and phone call, and 1 method for finish the verification. And a little tricky method called flags, which is used to control the UI of the Grafana OnCall, because we need to render different buttons for different phone providers. So there is 2 examples of ready phone providers. First is our existing Twilio phone provider, which is quite complicated. And second is something I'm calling simple phone provider, which is like really simple. It's use Thunder std out as a mock for SMS, and it does not support phone calls. And what I want to highlight that the system is built keeping in mind that some providers support SMS, some providers support phone calls, some providers support both. And what you need to do is just to implement the method you need, and the core code is ready for providers which not support phone calls. It will gracefully handle that. So that's pretty much it. And on the on-call side, now we have a new phone provider live setting, which is can be configured here, and you can change your phone provider and actually start using it. That's pretty much it. And one more. So if you start to implement your phone provider, feel free to open PR or issue on GitHub, and I for sure will help you to do that. That's it.
Thank you. I see claps from Vadim. So, any questions about phone provider? And I hope it will finally make asterisk possible, right? So probably we will merge this huge PR with asterisk one day.
Yes, actually today I wrote to the author of the PR, and he said that he wanted to came up with PR this weekend. But
Oh, wow.
actually we are like we're contacting with him. So, asterisk PR, someone is already making asterisk. If you want to implement something else, feel free to work on it.
Oh, thank you. And next topic in our agenda is a demo of new webhooks. First ever like available demo of new webhooks. We never ever published them anywhere yet, except PR. So Michael or Matthias, who's gonna demo?
We'll do both, I guess. So yeah, I'm going to do probably boring, simple demo with more talking, and Matthias will have better demo. Oh no, now I've set it up for pressure. But anyways, here, let me share my screen.
Yeah, go ahead. Thanks.
Let's see here. 1 second. Here we go. Okay. So I guess first just give a little bit of background and motivation for why we are making these changes. And so there's kind of two main points we wanted to accomplish with this, which was to allow much more functionality to make it so that you can integrate with different systems in different ways through outgoing webhooks and give you more control and power in how those are formed. And then the second was to make it easier to debug and kind of make sure it's doing what you want it to do. So in this setup here, we've added quite a few different fields. Ooh. There we go. To kind of control what you're doing when you create your webhook. So some of the changes are we have the ability to assign them to teams and to specific integrations. So previously, webhooks existed just as a step within an escalation chain, and that still is the case today, but now they can also be triggered by any of these events. So when an alert group is created or when a user interacts with an alert group in any way. And we have additional HTTP methods because before we just had post. And then the other big change is that everything almost is templatable. So we can use Jinja templates in the URLs, the headers, to customize how we're going to call the other service. And the input into those templates is a little bit more, has more information now. So as an example, in the documentation, we don't just have alert payload and alert group ID anymore. We now have more information about the alert group itself. If it was an event that was triggered by a user, who that user was, and then also information about the integration it came from. And we have this other concept about responses, which I'll talk about in a second. So back to how it works, there's also some additional controls with the ability to create a template, which will control if the webhook will actually execute or not. So if we have this case where you have this webhook that's supposed to execute for alert group created, and that's going to happen for any alert group that comes to this integration, we can have more detailed filtering, like, if it's about a certain topic or something, then we can have it execute the trigger template to say, yes, I want this webhook to execute or not. So after the webhook does execute, we've added this status page, which shows you sort of the response code and what happens. The other thing this page does is if you have templates, it shows you the template itself as well as the result of the template. So if you're having a hard time getting the output you want, you can use this status page to check that your request data that you're sending looks as to be expected by the system you're sending to. So then just going back to this responses concept, this is the ability to chain together stateful information between multiple webhook calls. So one of the problems we had is if we wanted to integrate with systems where you create a ticket like Jira or Zendesk or ServiceNow, when you create that ticket, we don't know the ID so that we could then update that ticket later. So through this responses element, we store the information that we get back from these systems for each alert group so that you can create a ticket and then you can update and resolve it through other webhook events. So I think I will let Matthias give you a demo, which is less of me blabbing.
Sounds good. Yep, I can share my screen. I will try to put in practice everything Michael just explained. Yes. So you can see my screen. I have the new webhooks section open here. I have created two webhooks for different events, one on alert group creation and other when the alert group is resolved. So we can check the settings. And you can see I'm interacting with status page API. Status page is this site that allows you to expose your incidents through this status page. So I will try to hook an incident, another group in OnCall with an incident creation and resolving in status page to show how you can interact with external services while keeping a state between webhook calls, which is really nice to integrate with any third-party service. You have an API to interact with. So you can see I'm using a particular integration, a specific URL here. I have an authorization header and a specific payload to interact with the API. This is the API to create an incident in the status page. I'm using template value here to use the title of the alert group as the incident title in the other side. And on the other hand, you can see this webhook has an ID here, which we can reuse on future events related to the same alert group. So, for example, that's the concept of responses that Michael was just mentioning. So, to update an incident created when the alert group is triggered, we need to update a specific URL associated to the incident that was created on the first step. For that, we can see here that we will use the response of that other webhook, the field ID we get in that response. So we are doing a different kind of request. We are using an HTTP method put to update this incident that was created on first step and change the status to resolve when the alert group is resolved. So to see that in action, we can trigger a demo alert in this integration. And if things go okay, we can refresh here and we see that an incident was created. And also we can check the status page here to confirm the API call we just did. Don't learn the authorization header. I will change the API key after this call. You can see how we are creating the payload using this template, which is converted to this payload to the API call. And we should have the response value here. Okay, this is the response of the API. And we see in the response, we get the ID that we will need to update the incident when the other group is resolved. So this is what I reference as the webhook ID.id in this other webhook, right? Here, responses, webhook ID, the field ID. Okay, then if I go to the other group page, I see the incident that just got created. I can resolve. You see that the webhook creation is logged in the timeline. And if everything is okay, the incident is resolved. So this is just a quick demo of how you can interact with third-party services while keeping things in sync using these new webhooks and event support related to alert groups. I think that's a quick summary of how you can use it. Coming soon.
Thank you. So we know there are also successful examples of integrating it on call and ServiceNow using those new webhooks. And as far as I understand, it will be possible to integrate with Jira. Vadim checked this and some other systems.
I can tell more about like external integrations. Once we have all that in place in production, when we actually switch to the new webhooks, we will have a docs page about ServiceNow, Jira, Zendesk, and I think AppDynamics. No, AppDynamics, just Jira, Zendesk, and ServiceNow. But yeah, virtually any external system can be connected to the webhooks because we can now like reference previous responses. So yeah, it should be possible and probably easy to connect to external systems. So stay tuned.
Thanks, Matthias, Michael, and Vadim. That was long-awaited feature. And moving to the next one, the team was working hard on next iteration of schedules, and some part of this work is not yet ready, but some part of this work is already ready for demo, and Matthias will speak about it. Yes, your turn.
Okay, thank you. Yes, as you just said, there are an interesting work going on polishing the user experience when dealing with rotations and the web UI for schedules, but that's not ready yet. What we can show now with it's a quick demo is we have been changing how the final schedule exports work. We were having some issues with the export not being always on sync. Some events get orphaned and not updated. And also we have this thing where your schedule exported all the rotations in your schedule without resolving the shift. So if you were part of an override, but there was also a shift in that schedule, in your export, you get both in the iCal that we were generating. So right now we are generating a final schedule export where you can only see the final shifts that will be happening on your schedule without any overlapping unless there is the same layer of events. So that's an improvement. We should also be handling better how events are synced to not leave orphan events or not remove or change things when you set an override, for example. And also it was changed how the personal schedule export works. This is an example of my personal schedule. And you can see I'm on call during the weekend, so try not to break anything this weekend. But you can see that besides just exposing your username in each one of the events, we get information about which schedule is coming, the event, and also if it is a primary or if it is an override event here. So your final schedule export now will only include the events which are really final and for which you will be on call. And you get information about the schedule this shift is coming from, and if it is the primary calendar or if it is an override. So those are a quick summary of the improvements in the final for schedules. That's it.
Thank you. And final topic for today, at least demo. And after this, we will have a Q&A. If somebody will have questions, we'll try to answer them. So the final topic is a sneak peek about Prom Exporter. Matthias?
Yes, this will be good. Also, we are working on implementing a Prometheus exporter for on-call specific information. Right now, we will keep metrics for the alert group states and for the response time for these alert groups. So you will get information about the time people take to do a first action with an alert group. If it is the response time between the alert group is fired until someone do something about it, like acknowledging, resolving, or silencing, but taking some action related to that alert group. So we will be exporting, we will have a Prometheus data source, which can be plugged in your Grafana. And you can do interesting things. We are right now working on a specific example of a dashboard where you can see the total alert groups. In fact, if I refresh, there you have, I have one extra, the one we just triggered related to the status page demo. So you can track all the alert groups you have and the status of each of your alert groups, a long time, how many alert groups were created, and the mean time to respond based on this response time. And yes, per integration or per team to get information about how things work and some insights on how you are dealing with alert groups and their states. So this is just a quick demo. We are wrapping things to make it available for OSS version, and probably it will be available in cloud a bit earlier, but we are working on it.
Thank you. And Julia, who was working on that, is on PTO now, but should give some credits.
Most of the credits to her, yeah.
Thanks, Matthias, for demo. And now we have some time left for questions. If somebody have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself or just send them to the chat. I'll read them. It's all for our general agenda.
I have two questions. The first one is to Michael and Matthias. It's about outgoing webhooks. How do I turn on it on my local OSS instance? So if I want to test that out before things are available, how do I test that on my OSS instance?
So two things. One is in the database in the dynamic dynamic settings. Yes, dynamic settings. So I'm just wondering if I can show a screen a bit of the actual particular setting. 1 second. Yes. Okay. So if you see my screen, in this table-based dynamics setting, there's this enabled webhooks 2 orgs. And if it has this org IDs element, and then this ID is the private, the ID, the internal database ID of the organization that we are enabling it for, which in your OSS is most likely 1, but you can always check your organization table if it's not. And then the other part of this is in the user interface, you have to go to webhooks2 URL. So webhooks_2. There is a PR that is going to be merged that will bring all this together and make it a nice experience. But while it's still under development, it's a little bit hacky to get access to it. But that should get you there.
Thank you. That answers it.
Welcome.
I also have a second question. It's about this Prometheus exporter. The dashboard looks beautiful. How do I get the same dashboard for my local on-call instance? Or what's the plan, at least?
The plan is that this dashboard will be distributed with the Grafana OnCall plugin once we have everything in place to make sure that you are able to use the dashboard. So right now, it's just waiting for us to deploy and make it the Prometheus exporter available. And after that, you should be able to install the dashboard using the plugin configuration page, and it should be available there.
Nice. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. And we have a few more questions in the chat. I'll read them out and I'll encourage anyone to answer. So do you plan, Dmitry is asking, do you plan to add maintenances with flexible configurations like alert filtering using Jinja templates? I guess I should answer like, no, we didn't plan that. But I think it's possible kind of to achieve the same result by dynamically adding a route, because we recently added ability to write Jinja-based routes. We finally managed to get rid of those regex-based routes, which were pretty hard to write. And if you want to kind of mute something, you could put a Jinja-based route on top of your routing table. But it worth an issue in GitHub, at least to spark a discussion. Maybe there are other people who want this. And the next one is, I guess, about alert manager integration. So I guess Nikinti will be interested in answering this one. How about using silence URL from alert payload for silences? I guess it's about Grafana alerts.
Actually, Grafana alerts is same alert manager alert at the end of the day. It's a very complicated question actually, because I have my own like very specific vision how on-call should work with alert manager. So if the question is about like, do we want to like Are we considering somehow use that silence URL right now? No, we're not, but I'm very interested to hear what like how exactly you want to use that silence URL. Yep, that's a short question. Short answer, sorry.
But I can share that discussion is happening about better integration between OnCall and Alert Manager, which is Grafana alerting.
And if you want, you can use the webhooks to use that URL, use that silence URL for something else if you like. You can pull out
that's
the
interesting.
payload. Well, or so there's a few things you can do. You can connect up the silence event to take the payload and use the silence URL to take some action with these new changes, or you can do something else if you like. So while we decide, while we're busy deciding what it should do automatically, you can kind of freely use it to do what you like, hopefully.
And Alex is adding more comments. So maybe an environment parameter or to use external silence. I think it all like worth an issue in GitHub where we can discuss it, because it's I can say it's kind of in the focus of a group. What our next steps in getting Alert Manager and OnCall closer. And next question.
Maybe getting them in one product.
Maybe, nobody knows. Will it be possible to customize Telegram message header, OnCall URL, filing source, etc.? And I guess context, I've seen somewhere also discussion that in Telegram, we're not allowing to change some part of the message. It's kind of hard-coded. So Vadim, if you remember, what's the context of it? Maybe you can answer.
Yes, I think the issue is that it's not currently possible to change that, like the top information on the Telegram message. So basically, it's always hard-coded, like, hey, you got a new notification, like it's number, then it's like the title of the alert group and some additional metadata, and you only can change the title and message via templating, and it won't actually change the top part of the message because it's hard-coded in the product. So if the question is, will it be changed? I think there's no such plans at this point, but if you're interested, just feel free to open a GitHub issue. I think there's no GitHub issue for that. And yeah, let's start the discussion. Like more customization is always better. So yeah, feel free to open an issue in Telegram, in our GitHub, or if you want to probably contribute that to the product, that would be great. Yeah.
I think it will be really easy PR. Should be like really easy to build
It's
PR.
needed to rewrite all the default templates for Telegram and pass additional variables. Being honest, I mean, I saw this question a lot of times, but I never understand why everyone wants to change it so hard. I'm not joking. I really want to understand it.
Maybe just fighting for the size of the message, because Alert Manager could send you like, I don't know, 3 screens of labels.
I think the top part of the message is actually like the length of is constant. So I guess like if you have a lot of annotations, it will be actually in the message. So you can customize that. But yeah, there's like some real estate that is not changeable. So changing that would probably be beneficial to the product. Yeah, as I said, feel free to open an issue.
Thanks, Vadim. Thanks, Nakinti. Next question, getting back to silences. Dmitry, currently you can silence only one alert group, but if alert is flapping, that doesn't work. Doing silence using integration with Alert Manager for a specific period of time would be a great feature. Oh, I think that's because in Alert Manager, you silence the whole group for some... I'm getting lost.
The rule.
Differences between silences. Do you use silence rule in Alert Manager?
Is that, or I'm not sure. That's. I think you can do both, but.
Yeah, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably a comment. In Alert Manager, you can add a filter for the alert, for example, particular labels or just alert name. And just for one alert group, it doesn't work, for example, for flapping alerts. And if you know that alerts is flapping, you can just silence that alert, particular alert name for just few hours. And or if you can choose which, like for which labels you can build a filter for alert in like in the interface, it will be great.
Yeah, it sounds like super valid feature request for me. Thanks. Probably we need to think of. Oh yeah, go ahead. Michael.
Also, I don't know if it suits the use case, but if you're grouping on your alert name, then the silence should not be bothering you. But if you're grouping on labels, then you're going to keep getting new alert groups set. So I don't know if it's suitable in this case to, until we have a feature to change your grouping to adjust, but it's one thing you might be able to do.
More comments from Alex is the difference between OnCall and Grafana alerting is that Grafana doesn't resolve silenced alerts until silence is timed out. Yeah, as you see, we don't have like clear answers. How should we do it? But we're gonna invest in this to make it more like flawlessly. Okay, any other topics to discuss? Or I feel like we have time for last question, last topic, and it's time to close the meeting. Three, two, one. Okay. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks to those who looking for watching the recording in the YouTube. Please join our next community call. We announced them in GitHub in discussions. There's a link to a Zoom call. And please open issues in GitHub, open PRs. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.